Hi, Internet. I'm Corion, your witch in residence, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite characters in media, and that is Captain Jack Sparrow and his connection as a modern trickster deity. Before I get too deep into the weeds here, I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers, and if you're not still subscribed, please consider doing so right down here. Go ahead and click that subscribe button, click the bell icon. I know it might be a little bit of a pain to sign up for an account, but trust me, I will make it worth your time. Now, with that being said, let's dig into trickster deities and why I feel that Captain Jack Sparrow, while being probably one of the worst pirates I've ever heard of, is probably one of the most amusing trickster deities ever to exist. So, when we talk about trickster deities, we're talking about a unique group of tricksters throughout mythologies. We're talking Anansi in West Africa, Aluga of the Yabura tribe, Eris in Greek mythology, Kokope in the Hopi tradition, Loki, Lu, and the coyote of Native American tradition. These guys are all domains, like, all have a domain that encompasses deceit, pranks, including prank punishments for misbehaving, and reversals. Most gods are shown to have shape shifting and use semantics to betray the spirit of an agreement. But all those characters are defined by the stories in one way or another as being part of the pantheon, but in a way that the rest of the gods wouldn't particularly appreciate. A really great example would be in Loki's Avengers when, during the Avengers having a conference about all the horrible things that he's done, Thor says, "Hey, be careful. He may be, doing all these terrible things, but he's still a child of Asgard." And they mention he's killed like 47 people, and Thor's like, "He's adopted." Like, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about here. This trope is older than dirt, man. It appears in several real life mythologies where the gods of trickery are used as a lesson for the audience, right? They teach indirectly through inducing hardship and people learning from it instead of giving direct instruction. Because of that, they're often associated with storytelling and are commonly the victim of pranks and mischief as often as they are the person who caused these things, right? In mythology and religion, trickster deities break the rules of the gods or nature, or sometimes maliciously, but usually unintentionally, and often have positive effects. These bending and breaking of the rules take the form of tricks or thievery. Tricksters can be cunning or foolish or both. They are often funny, and even when they're considered, even when considered scary, they're performing important cultural tasks. And when we start looking at Jack Sparrow, I think three of the scenes that really focus the best on this are the blacksmith fight against Will Turner, the stealing of I believe it was the Dauntless to get back to the Pearl, and probably the last fight between him and Barbossa, who I also feel is a little bit of a trickster deity, albeit a darker one. So, when we meet Jack, one of the very first scenes we see him in is he's bailing out his boat. He looks all serious and regal. He gets to the dock, and he figures out a way to sneak into the village and heads into the blacksmith shop. We see him in this kind of dirty, dingy shop. He's obviously looking for somebody, and Will Turner sneaks up on him. And what does how does Jack confront this attacker? He tries to make light of it, right? He's like, "Hey, didn't I threaten you before sometime?" Right? Like, he's trying to make a joke. He's trying to use his humor, his wit to get out of the problem, which is a classic trickster maneuver. When he realizes he can't, all of his fighting, all of his movements are about misdirecting Will so that he can get an advantage by playing to Will's sense of normalcy. Because ultimately that's what tricksters do, is they pull us out of the normal and into that fantastic. Whether it be the Disney story like Moana, where we have hey, it's okay, you're welcome, thank you for, like, you're welcome for getting a chance to visit the great and powerful Maui, and now I'm going to steal your boat while you're sitting there singing and enjoying the song, right? Similar idea. So the next we meet up, we've got Jack Sparrow and Will Turner, who are now kind of friends, and they're looking to steal the boat. And you can see that Jack is analyzing the situation, looking for weak spots, looking for a way to misdirect the response of everyone else so that he can complete his objective. And he uses combinations of wordplay, hiding under another boat, and such preposterous actions that nobody thinks he could possibly pull it off. So they do the logical thing that you would do to try to catch a stupid criminal. And ultimately, that response was what the misdirect that he was trying to pull off by by hiding and stealing the boat that they came to get him for. They had prepped his sail and he was ready to go. This is a classic example of that misdirect. And during that whole scene, there's made mention that he is like the worst pirate they've ever met. And, or the worst pirate they've ever heard of. And Jack is like, yeah, but you have heard of me. Which means he can't be that bad, because if he was that terrible, he wouldn't have survived to this point. So, kudos on Jack for that. And then when we wind up seeing him face off against Barbossa, that entire fight, that sword fight, the whole time was to maneuver Jack close enough to the treasure to grab a piece of it so he could use that undead effect. So even if he died, even if he was killed, he wouldn't die during that fight. And knowing that both of them are basically two immortals locked in combat forever, he rigged things up in such a way that the curse would end precisely when he decided to. The whole piece of him picking up a piece of treasure was a misdirect to get Barbossa into a sense of, I can't die, so I might as well not worry about being hurt or hit until it was far too late. So these are all textbook classic examples of that. We see wordplay used by Jack constantly, where he's using the word of exactly what he said instead of the spirit that it was meant to be taken in to gain his advantage, to gain, as Jack would say, appropriate leverage. And this is what trickster deities do. This is what trickster deities do throughout pop culture. When we see the classic ultimate example, I think, of a trickster deity on the small screen, that would be Q from Star Trek Next Generation, we see that ultimately his goal was to prepare humanity for its next steps by picking one member of humanity and trying to teach him the lessons along the way through kind of accelerated hardship, or kicking the butt of the crew of the Enterprise in a way they didn't like, but definitely for the right reasons. After all, if it wasn't for Q, humanity wouldn't have been prepared for the Borg. If it wasn't for Q, Picard would have died multiple times. So we all see that nobody may enjoy the ride they take with a trickster, but if you try to get out of that ride, you're doing yourself a disservice, because they're trying to teach you a lesson. They're trying to grant you new knowledge. And I think that's something that we can all take away from this. I mean, we all know that guy, whether it's the dude bro that you went to college with, or the person at work who doesn't seem to actually do anything, and yet their work is always done. Or even the, guy at the gaming table who finds these weird, convoluted, crisscrossy kind of tactics to put you actually at the end of the day into a bad position so that they can win. These are all classic examples of a trickster mindset. And I think it's something worth considering. We are now in a world where we have a lot of, righteous people, or at least righteous people. And, using that little bit of trickster capability, a little bit of forethought, and righting those who are righteous might just be what society needs right now. So consider the trickster that you're seeing on screen with Captain Jack. Consider becoming a little bit of a trickster yourself, and if you've ever either been the wonderful victim of a trickster in your own life, or you have a plan to trick somebody into doing the right thing, I'd love to hear about it. Let's put that in the comments below. For homework, I'm going to ask you to watch Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. And I'm going to ask you to watch it from the lens that Captain Jack Sparrow is a trickster deity, is Loki or what have you, gone to Earth, and is just trying to get Will and Miss Swan into a position where they will ultimately be happy and live happily ever after. So please consider looking at it that way. Let me know if you think that would be an interesting take in the comments as well. Feel free to give it a like if you're so inclined. I hope I've earned your view today. And once again, thank you guys. This week, we are doing a transmission from the Rogue Council. We are going to be discussing the mysterious and ever interesting trickster D.B. Cooper, who managed to hold up an airplane and do so without getting caught. So let's find out what we can about D.B. Cooper. Those same rules, of course, for the Rogue Council apply. After 72 hours, the video disappears forever. So please consider joining our chat, chiming in with the video as it happens, as it is a live stream, and we would love to hear from you. I know I definitely would love to hear from you. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate the heck out of you. In the meantime, gentlemen, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. This episode is over. Guys, have a wonderful day. Take care.